you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Livin the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here, coming at you from beautiful sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Livin the Dream podcast. And today, we're diving into chapter 6 of the book Make Change That Lasts by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. And let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're making progress in life only to suddenly hit a setback and think, what the hell? I thought I was on the right path. Why is this happening to me? Maybe you've been training consistently, eating well, and then boom, you get sick or injured. Maybe you've been saving money and budgeting, and then suddenly your car breaks down and eats into your emergency fund. Maybe your relationship has been smooth sailing, and then out of nowhere, an argument shakes your confidence. We all experience this, and yet we constantly act shocked when things don't go our way. Why? Because most of us have been conditioned to believe that progress should be linear. That once we start improving in an area of life, that it should be like stepping onto an escalator that smoothly takes us upward. We expect steady gains, predictable progress, and minimal resistance. But the truth, life does not work that way. Progress is non-linear. And if you don't learn to expect adversity, to factor in setbacks, well, you're setting yourself up for stress, frustration, and failure. And this chapter dives into why we must stop expecting smooth sailing and instead build resilience for the inevitable ups and downs. Because adversity isn't the problem. Your reaction to adversity is. You've probably heard the saying, just get 1% better every day. And in theory, it sounds great because small, consistent improvements that add up over time really is where you're going to see progress. But in reality, progress just isn't going to be this straight line. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it's filled with setbacks. Let's take fitness, for example. If you expect to hit a personal best every single workout, then you're setting yourself up for frustration. Strength gains, endurance, especially weight loss, none of it happens in a straight line. Some days you feel unstoppable, and then others you feel like you're moving backwards. It's part of the process. Same with business. You might be crushing it in business for months, gaining clients, making sales, upping your revenue, and then out of nowhere, something slows down. Same with relationships. You might feel totally connected with your partner one week, and then the next week you're butting heads. This is the natural flow of life. But when you expect, and the key word here is expect, constant, uninterrupted progress, you're setting yourself up for suffering. The solution is shift from expecting perfection to expecting adversity. Let's talk about the power of shrinkage thinking. There's a concept in business called shrinkage. Retail stores, they expect to lose a certain percentage of their inventory due to theft, shoplifting, damaged goods, or loss. They factor it in instead of being surprised when it happens. Now imagine applying this to your life. What if you built in an expectation that things will go wrong, that setbacks will happen, Instead of getting derailed by a bad week of workouts, an argument with a spouse, or an unexpected bill, you say, yeah, okay, this is part of the process. This is my shrinkage. Think of it like this, your fitness shrinkage. You're gonna have off days where you don't feel on top of your game. That doesn't mean that your program isn't working. Financial shrinkage. You're going to have unexpected expenses. You're going to have a medical bill or you're going to get a flat tire. That doesn't mean that you're bad with money. Relationship shrinkage. You're going to have disagreements. That doesn't mean that your relationship is doomed. By expecting adversity, you become less emotionally reactive. Instead of getting stuck in self-pity, why is this happening to me? Why is it always like this? Instead of getting stuck in self-pity, you develop resilience and problem-solving skills. We have to figure out how to rewire our mindset. Adversity is a growth catalyst. Let's take this one step further. What if we reframed adversity as not just inevitable, but necessary? Think about it. Muscles grow through stress. You literally have to tear muscle fibers apart for them to rebuild stronger. Your immune system strengthens through exposure. The body needs challenges to build up immunity and resistance. Mental toughness. Mental toughness comes from navigating difficulty because no one has ever become resilient by having an easy life. This is why friction is a requirement for personal growth. Some of the most successful, resilient people in the world, they expect adversity, and not only that, they train for it. Navy SEALs, they call this embracing the suck. They don't just tolerate discomfort. They seek it out, knowing that it's shaping them into something stronger. And you can do the same thing. We can do the same thing by training our brain to handle setbacks. Here's how to train for adversity. 4 key practices. If you're ready to let go of the illusion that life should be easy, here are 4 ways to reprogram your mind to handle challenges better. Number 1 practice to train for adversity is to reframe complaints into challenges. Every time you catch yourself complaining, I want you to stop and ask, am I acting like a victim or am I taking ownership? What can I control here? How can I use this challenge to get stronger? Every time you catch yourself complaining, ask yourself those questions. Complaining wires your brain to see life as unfair. But when you reframe obstacles as opportunities, you train yourself to see adversity as a teacher instead of as an enemy. Am I acting like a victim or am I taking ownership? What can I control here? And how can I use this challenge to get stronger? Reframe complaints into challenges. Number 1, key practice to train for adversity. Number 2, key practice to train for adversity is to embrace stress training. It is super important that you put yourself in controlled discomfort regularly. I track things on a spreadsheet, and one of my top things that I have to check off every single day is to get uncomfortable. Is it getting heat exposure through sauna or hot tub? Is it cold plunging in the pool or the ocean? Is it getting uncomfortable in a workout? Is it getting uncomfortable in a social situation? Put yourself in a controlled discomfort regularly. And just like exercise, start small, start slow, start with a tiny discomfort, and then build upon that. Cold exposures could be cold showers that turn into ice baths. Fasting could be skipping a meal for the purpose of feeling a little hungry, because hunger teaches you patience and discipline, and maybe that turns into a 24-hour fast or something like that, or you fast from social media, things like that, or a vice like alcohol or sugar or caffeine. You could use challenging workouts, so lifting heavy or sprinting, or even things like breath work. And you could also think about tackling social discomfort, so public speaking, initiating conversations with strangers, networking when you normally wouldn't. By handling these discomforts, you will build resilience. By voluntarily experiencing discomfort, you're going to inoculate yourself against stress. You train yourself to handle adversity before life throws that adversity at you unexpectedly. You can train yourself to be stronger at handling stress. So number 2, embrace stress training. Number 3, key principle for training for adversity: meditate on death, also called memento mori. One of the most powerful ways to stop sweating the small stuff is to remind yourself that you will die one day. We all will die one day. This isn't morbid. It's actually liberating. When you understand that life is finite, you stop wasting time on trivial frustrations. Ask yourself daily, if I knew I had 1 year to live, would this problem matter? Am I spending my time on things that truly fulfill me? Death is the ultimate teacher. The more comfortable that you become with it, the more fully you live. I also love to just kind of meditate on the reality of life, the reality of reality. If you think about it, we are on a rock, a mossy rock, floating through space, orbiting around a big ball of fire. That ball of fire is sending us light so far away that it's unfathomable to our brain. And that light is giving us the ability to have biology on this mossy rock. It's insane to think about the scale of what is out there and then what is within us. We are made up of 30 to 40 trillion plus cells that have self-organized to have this organism that has consciousness, that can communicate with other organisms. Like, the fact of reality is crazy. So when you go throughout life thinking about like, this thing is the biggest detriment that has ever happened to me, start to meditate on death, on reality, and put things into perspective. And the 4th and final key practice to train for adversity is to expect resistance in relationships. No healthy relationship is free of conflict. The happiest couples, well, they expect disagreements and they use them as opportunities to grow closer. Instead of seeing fights as proof that something is wrong, you should see fights as a way to understand each other better, a chance to communicate honestly, and an opportunity to strengthen your bond. When you stop expecting relationships to be easy all the time, you can stop feeling blindsided when they aren't. We have to realize that we are our own person and everyone else is their own person. And we have this filter on life that we see things based on our experiences. We have different experiences from each other. So when we start interacting with people and things don't go our way, we have to realize that they're seeing things through a different filter than we are. And maybe the fact that we can figure out what their filter is, maybe that'll add some value to our life instead of just pushing up against it and thinking that they're wrong or they're trying to hurt us, or that, this fight is something that is wrong with our relationship. You should start seeing it as a way to understand each other better, a chance to communicate honestly, and an opportunity to strengthen your bond. A final takeaway here: resilience is a choice. Life is not an escalator. It's an unpredictable climb filled with peaks and valleys and obstacles. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. When you expect adversity, you train yourself to handle setbacks with grace. You stop making excuses and you stop feeling like a victim. And when you stop relying on things always going right, you finally start thriving no matter what. Next up, chapter 7, let go and move on. Our reliance on the past. Stay tuned and follow this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on so that you don't miss next week's episode of the summary of chapter 7, the book Make Change That Lasts by Dr. Rangan Chatterjee. Definitely go pick it up and see what kind of takeaways that you have, and please share with me. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Livin the Dream podcast. Share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend who could benefit from what we talked about today. To support this podcast and help it grow, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on and leave a review telling others how this podcast benefited you. Leave a comment on this episode on Spotify or YouTube, letting people know how you're incorporating what you're learning. This is a non-cost way that you can help get this important wellness content into more people's ears. Make sure you tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at coachdamian_SD and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Livin the Dream team that we can discuss in future episodes. I will be right here with you working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.